I'm a supporter of gay rights. And not a closet supporter either. From the time I was a kid, I have never been able to understand attacks upon the gay community. There are so many qualities that make up a human being. By the time I get through with all the things that I really admire about people, what they do with their private parts is probably so low on the list that it is irrelevant. A man with no enemies is a man with no character. You only grow when you are alone. We are such spendthrifts with our lives. The trick of living is to slip on and off the planet with the least fuss you can muster. I'm not running for sainthood. I just happen to think that in life we need to be a little like the farmer, who puts back into the soil what he takes out. I don't like to discuss my marriage, but I will tell you something which may sound corny but which happens to be true. I have steak at home. Why should I go out for hamburger? Those with a moral deficit put on a good show and sleep like a baby. The problem with getting older is you still remember how things used to be. On adultery, why fool around with hamburger when you have steak at home? I never ask my wife about my flaws. Instead, I try to get her to ignore them and concentrate on my sense of humor. You don't want any woman to look under the carpet, guys, because there's lots of flaws underneath. Joan believes my character in a film we did together, Mr. and Mrs. Bridge, comes closest to who I really am. I personally don't think there's one character who comes close. But I learned a long time ago not to disagree on things that I don't have a solid opinion about. It's like chasing a beautiful woman for 80 years. Finally, she relents and you say, "I'm terribly sorry. I'm tired." After winning his first Oscar after so many losses. There are two Newman's laws. The first one is it is useless to put on your brakes when you're upside down. The second is just when things look darkest, they go black. The embarrassing thing is that my salad dressing is outgrossing my films. It's been a privilege to be here. I picture my epitaph. Here lies Paul Newman, who died a failure because his eyes turned brown. It's always darkest before it turns absolutely pitch black. When you see the right thing to do, you'd better do it. On considering adultery, why go out for hamburger when I can have steak at home? It's all been a bad joke that just ran out of control. I got into food for fun, but the business got a mind of its own. Now my good Lord, look where it has gotten me. My products are on supermarket shelves, in cinemas, in the theater, and they say show business is odd. There are so many qualities that make up a human being. By the time I get through with all the things that I really admire about people, what they do with their private parts is probably so low on the list that it is irrelevant. I like racing, but food and pictures are more thrilling. I can't give them up. In racing, you can be certain, to the last thousandth of a second, that someone is the best, but with a film or a recipe, there is no way of knowing how all the ingredients will work out in the end. The best can turn out to be awful, and the worst can be fantastic. Cooking is like performing, and performing like cooking. Acting is a question of absorbing other people's personalities and adding some of your own experience. When you have no enemies, you are characterless. Of course, I know Julie Andrews. She's the last of the really great broads. To that extent that you can sustain and maintain that childlike part of your personality is probably the best part of acting. Quoted in Paul Newman's Road to Glory, interview with Paul Fisher, Film Monthly, the 1st of July 2002. Money won is twice as sweet as money earned. Honey, don't go shooting all the dogs 'cause one of them's got fleas.